Father Song didn't expect that he declined Ragnar, but Ragnar retreated without knowing it was difficult. So he could only chuckled and waved his hand. Actually, to be honest, Warnya is still young and I haven't wanted to marry her yet. After all, her brother is not married yet. Ragnar blurted out, boys can wait more, but girls can't do it. Getting married when you are 24 or 5 years old is the best annualization. If you wait until you get married at 30, your own value will be at a great discount. Mr. Song smiled faintly. In front of people who really like her, 24 or 5 years old is no different from 30, or even 40 or 50 years old, but in front of people who don't like her, 24 or 5 years old, there may be a huge change from the age of 26 or 17. Therefore, I hope that my granddaughter can marry the former rather than the latter. Roger hurriedly said, Grandpa Song, if you are willing to marry Warnya to me, I will always treat her like my first love. Mr. Song nodded and said, I believe you will, but it depends on Warnya's intentions, not that I can call the shots. Ragnar felt a little unhappy. I have said so much, you always refuse, my son even made a promise, you are still rejecting, what do you mean? Looking down on my Wu family? After a moment of silence, he said, Uncle Song, I dare to ask, if you keep rejecting my kindness, is there a better candidate for the Song family than Roger? Father Song saw that the other party was pressing hard every step of the way. If he still did Tai Chi, the other party would definitely persevere. So he nodded and said seriously, I don't want to hide it, I really have a good candidate in my heart. After all, he added, Warnya actually has a good candidate in her heart, and the two of us are optimistic about the same person. When Roger heard this, he felt extremely disappointed. He finally met a woman who made him so tempted. He didn't expect that the other family would not look down upon him, and also revealed that she already has a lover. Ragnar also felt shocked, and there was a bit of anger that was hard to conceal in the eyes of Mr. Song. DMN, this bad old master's eyesight is so DMN high that even our Wu family can't even look at him? He's going to heaven. Thinking of this, he frowned and asked, Uncle Song, since this person can make you look down on the Wu family, then he must be a child of the Eastcliff family? Grandpa Song shook his head and said, No. The young man is just an ordinary person, not a member of any family at all. I even heard that he is an orphan and entered the orphanage at the age of 8. When Ragnar heard this, he suddenly became a little angry, and he blurted out, Where is an orphan who doesn't even have parents than Roger, and where can you make Uncle Song look at him differently? Old Master Song laughed and said, Sometimes people can't compare wealth, family, and background, and sometimes they have more abilities than others. Ragnar frowned and asked, Uncle Song, do you think our family has no meaning? Of course not. Old Master Song said with a smile. I mean, people always have their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, Mr. Ragnar is good everywhere, but he can't play basketball, and another person may nothing is good, but in basketball very good, and a girl is attracted by the latter's basketball skills. This cannot be said that the latter is better than Roger, it can only be said that the latter is better an attraction for a girl. At this time, Old Song's inner monologue was, Ragnar, where do you come from so much nonsense? You said so much. Not only did you become ignorant and forgot to retreat when you knew it was difficult, you even continued to chirp with me while licking your face. Do I have to make it clear to your face that your son is only a poop of shish, tea in my eyes? Ragnar was also quite depressed. He thought he would come over and propose a marriage. Mr. Song would agree to it without hesitation, and immediately regarded his son as his grandson-in-law. But he didn't expect that old Master Song would reject his proposal time and time again. This made Ragnar feel a kind of humiliated. Roger also frowned, and said with a slight dissatisfaction, Grandpa Song, why don't you want Sister Warnya to marry me? My Wu family is the first family in the south of the Yangtze River. Even if it is placed in Eastcliff, how many can dare to say that they are stronger than us? Grandpa Song glanced at him, smiled slightly, and said, Young Mr. Wu is naturally a hero among the people. It's just that this emotional matter can barely be obtained. For Mr. Song, the father and son had no self-knowledge, and they couldn't speak too much, so they could only rely on persuasion. Roger snorted dully, feeling particularly upset. I thought it was a matter of course, but it turned out to be more difficult than ancient learning. Just when he was bored, Honor came back. Seeing that the Mr. Wu and his son were meeting at home, Honor hurried forward and said very politely, Uncle Wu and Roger, how come you two are free to come home today? Ragnar smiled at him slightly and said, Honor, I just sent Wu Qi back to Suzhou this morning. I plan to stay in Orus Hill with Roger these days to find out who did this to Wu Qi. So we came to visit your grandfather and plan to stay in your house for a few days. After that, Ragnar said again, that's the honor. Do you think, my son Roger, and your sister Warnya, if these two people get together, do they match well? When Honor heard this, he blurted out, a good match. Of course, a good match. Absolutely talented girl and a man. A match made in heaven.